Afternoon, good morning, good evening. This is Andrew Turner, host of the Praxi Pod. And today we have, as part of our Gifts of Insight series that we're running between Christmas and the beginning of January 2025, we have today Mr. Andrew Ahn. Welcome, Andrew.
Hey, good morning, Mr. Turner.
How's life in the depths of Silicon Valley then? Everything going all right over there?
Yeah, other than some of the forest fires we have in Southern California, things have been pretty smooth. It's been a good year so far.
Okay. Well, the year's only just begun. So, the only way's up. Yeah, so as probably people will recall that we started this series in late December, and we've been getting a number of people from our advisory board, our ecosystem, to share their kind of insights looking back in the rearview mirror into 2024, and also looking forward into 2025. So today we're going to have Andrew, who's founder and CEO of Praxi.ai, based in Palo Alto, California, and today is going to be that session. So, firstly, let's crack on to the first question. We obviously did quite a lot of stuff in 2024 in various different locations around the world. So what was your biggest insight from 2024? What would be your sharing on that kind of point?
Well, many things happened around the world, but in our space, I think the biggest change was obviously kind of the day after generative AI. I think in 2024, I think different organizations, different leaders in the field really went from the various stages of adopting new technology with generative AI. And as far as data and data curation is concerned, they've really gone from kind of notional general ideas to much more specific actionable results. And, having gone through a number of these cycles, I think collectively, they're much smarter and rational about certain KPIs that they want to reach. And so to kind of put it all together, I think we had a much more realistic lens of what it can do. It's not general AI. It's not going to do everything for us, but it can do some things very well. And I think what those next steps are became more clear in 2024. And I think that will probably lead us to some topics that we talk about for 2025, which is, of course, delivering on those promises and those use cases. But really, it's kind of the more realistic, more rational approach to adopting this new technology. I think that was the big takeaway.
Yeah, and I mean, my build to that would be as we had quite a few meetings in the last couple of quarters, in particular from October onwards, which I think where people will be a lot more precise about their questions, and also their understanding was obviously had moved a lot further forward from conversation we were having in January. I don't know if you've got the same view, but I definitely got that vibe from those conversations. They were a lot more progressive and informative. You felt like people were actually going up their education curve.
Yeah, I think so too. There wasn't a watershed moment where there was this big event. There was an aha moment, but I think it was very rapid as far as kind of a collective maturation of points of view. I think it happened and coalesced quite quickly. Even in industries which are not necessarily technology creators, but technology consumers. So an industry like insurance, for instance, versus like a Google, collectively they came to this realization. So companies that consume a lot of data, like insurance or banking, they've really been able to articulate what they're looking for and what they expect to get out of generative AI and how that's going to really affect their entire business, and what that's going to do for their product mix going forward.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. So moving on to the next segue was around looking through the front windscreen. We're talking about a car analogy. I suppose that in terms of, if you think about the people that are in our ecosystem, in our world, and the people we've been talking to and working with, what would be there if you were going to, you're in an elevator, you were going to say, this is the biggest action that I would take if I were you in 2025, then what would be the kind of some insights or thoughts around that?
I think the biggest thing that's going to happen in 2025 is that we're going to find out which of those use cases, which of those applications of technologies really is going to bear fruit. And I think there's going to be a few surprises, but I think a lot of the results are going to be fairly predictable. Generative AI is not going to replace whole, classes of knowledge workers in our society for the next at least year or two. But it is going to make productivity jump dramatically. And I think the second order effects are going to be affected. So what happens if you do have, much better productivity in terms of data analytics, governance controls? How would you change your organizational workflows, right? One of the things that happens from a compliance standpoint is that's usually tacked on at the end of a lot of analytic work. So is this, they'll ask the question, hey, is this okay for me to use this data to solve that question? And can I give the results to this other group? And those types of questions will be answered earlier. The selection of various data assets will increase, and the quality of those assets will be more quickly understood. So they should be able to bake their cake a lot faster, right? And they'll know who to be able to sell it to. So that's really, I think, the big impact of 2025. I think it's going to be good for consumers as well as businesses. They'll be able to deliver more for less.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know if I told you about this, but I was on a session with Section School, which is run by Scott Galloway, the NYU professor of marketing. And it was very eloquent, actually, the way they articulated. They said it's either going to be AI and this Gen AI capability either becomes kind of like a strategist, becomes like a thought partner with you, or it becomes like a creator. It helps you create your first draft before you actually get some human interaction with it, or it becomes an assistant. So that piece you said about cut out the drudge work, cut out the manual work, be more intelligent about how you do the work you have to do. But I thought it was quite good, three interesting personas of how they split those down. So
absolutely. One of the things is, if we solve this hallucination problem, which is one of my predictions that we actually will, it can do a lot of really mundane things that are quite tedious. Obviously, this is not news to anybody, but for instance, to be able to look up and compare specific reference citations at massive scale is very, very helpful, right? Especially if they're technical volumes or technical regulations or specifications. Those things will become much, much better. And with better rigor, we should be able to address hallucinations and quality of answers and consistency. That's all improving. So it should be quite dramatic, actually.
Yeah, I mean, my final bill was going to be about, if you think about when people are making investment decisions around this area, does it increase revenue? Does it cut costs? Does it make you more compliant? Yeah, does it help keep you on the right side of regulation? I don't know about you, but I see more use cases around those last two, and the particular last one being very, very important. And I think that's where you can leverage these capabilities. And we're seeing that kind of you talk about the chain of custody, you talk about that large scale citation, that large scale validation. The precision we have to have in insurance for those use cases we're working on. That's where I think it's really going to score some.
You and I were at ITC, and one of the speakers had this slide, and it had this very kind of simple but eloquent statement, which is, all insurance companies will be data companies. And that is basically it, right? Because at some point, all the players in insurance particularly will have very similar types of source data other than, proprietary customer data. So then really it's how fast can you understand the data, get insights from the data, and then take action, right? And that's really based on the ability to process and analyze. And that's where, AI and generative AI will help dramatically. If you can address a larger scope of data, then the quality of your data-driven answers will just be better. And I think that's really going to be, a trend that's going to move forward for a while.
Competitive advantage. Well, I mean, to bring it full circle to what you started off when you talked about the Southern California situation that's going on at the moment. Then I read some reports just literally in the last 24 hours where certain global carriers, insurers that we're talking to, and we one of them in particular we've been working with, they are literally in that particular geography. They are not underwriting. They're not accepting policies for home insurance on certain types of geography because of the natural disaster or the climate risk or the geographic risk, which I found was fascinating. About the size of those, where you would think that an insurance company would want to grow and cover everything, but they're obviously being a lot more intelligent about how they're making decisions about what they underwrite and what they don't underwrite, which to my mind goes back to that piece around being really smart and intelligent about where you place your.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. In California, for those of you maybe listening outside of California or the United States, California insurance market is a regulated market which doesn't have open pricing. So at some point, if the risks for coverage are so high, you can't charge enough of a premium to cover that risk because of these price controls. Sometimes the best option is basically not to issue a policy. And many customers, many insurance carriers have done that. Right. So it becomes a problem, but at the same time, they head off a big potential problem, which is, insurance holders think that they're covered, but it turns out that the insurance carrier cannot, pay the claim, which would be perhaps really bad, which has happened before, with hurricanes and other things. So I think, it's a net good thing, despite what it may seem like.
Yeah, it's very front. Okay, so yeah, just to finish off today's little mini episode together was talking about the predictions, I suppose, for 2025. I know you talked about some of the things that you're seeing transition from 24 to 25, and obviously when we spent some time with 10,000 other people in a certain location in Nevada in October, which was quite mind-boggling, but it was a very good time to spend time with insurers and talk about what the problems they had. If you're looking a bit further down the runway, any final thoughts around predictions for 2025 that you can share?
These predictions are always a little scary because the space we work in changes so quickly, and I haven't even finished my morning coffees. I guess the prediction will be garbage in, more garbage out. Well, other than being a little cheeky, that is basically, I think, a bumper sticker for the notion that, data quality, this quality of the input that you put into your analytic workflow is going to actually have an exponential effect on the output. So that old, adage is going to be even more relevant today. If you give a lot of bad reference data and your knowledge base is corrupted, when you do your, RAG chat, it's not going to be so good. So I think this is the year where I think people are going to kind of go back to basics. And I should have probably thought of a more exciting, more eloquent prediction. But I think this is going to be the year of data quality. Very exciting. We should make T-shirts. And that's going to...
I was just going to think, thinking out loud was actually what we should do is we should create some swag, yeah? Which has the hashtag GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. Yeah. Have you solved your GIGO problem? Yeah. Maybe that's something. There was something we should do some more communication about.
Yeah, well, stay tuned.
You heard it here first. The Andrew Squared Show created this interactively on today's episode.
No, we need an avatar or a cartoon character, so we'll call it Geigo. So,
that's a good point, actually. Yeah, that's a good idea.
It sounds like a kangaroo or something. Well, we don't want to upset our Australian friends, so we have to come up with another creature, something else, maybe a made up creature. Anyways,
but just a point when we publish this episode, then we can actually ask for people in the comments to come up with the best animal or a character we could have for Geigo.
Yeah? Yes.
There you go.
Yes. There you
go. So that was your main prediction for some more Geigo if you don't fix the fundamentals. Is that the kind of the big takeaway?
Absolutely. Well, I think you reap what you sow, and it's just happening really fast. And so, another prediction that I heard, or kind of more of an axiom or a rule would be, this is the worst AI will ever be, and this is the most expensive it will be. So this is just going to accelerate, right? The price point of analytic work will get better. The cost of GPUs are going down. LLMs are so fierce in their development right now. It can only get better. And it'll be interesting to see if we do another one of these next year, what we're going to talk about. But, the human component, the component of selecting the right fuel for this is still going to be at issue, right? The GIGO scenario is still in effect, and I think it'll be more so going forward.
Well, yeah, I mean, I want to call out a citation then for the person that came up with that phrase. Actually, it was actually John Hammond from AWS, from Amazon Web Services, that when we had the panel back in October, when we launched our Curation as a Service product solution, which is coming to your shores very shortly. Tune in, keep watching and posting, and keep your eyes peeled, because we're going to be making some big announcements in the next few weeks, and also as we go through Q1 around what we're bringing to the world for you to all benefit from, and sort out GIGO, our new catchphrase. So thanks, Andrew, for coming on today's little mini episode of the Praxi Pod. Some great insights looking in the rear view mirror, and then also looking into the front windscreen. And let's keep that car on the road, and let's go and rock and roll and accelerate. Thanks very much, Andrew Ahn. See you soon. Thanks.